On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Merry Christmas!
The Mirth Movie.
I think we'll go with a little
Mixtape Monday.
X to each other. Party on, dude!
Party on,
All right, there we go. I think we're live now. Any of you that are still hanging out in the chat waiting for me, let me know if everything's working. Anyways, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this very special Tuesday edition of Mixtape Mondays. I think Devin asked in the chat whose birthday it was. So it is my channel's second birthday, 2-year anniversary, whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it. But yes, so yesterday I was on a plane flying home. So I was going to have to miss my regular live stream, which sometimes if I'm busy, if I can't get to it, I'll just forego it. But my phone reminded me a couple days ago that it was 2 years ago that I posted my first video on this weird and strange journey that is YouTube. So I thought, what the hell? Why not just give it a try and do a live stream a day late to celebrate that moment? So to those of you who are already in the chat, and any of you who are going to jump in later, cheers to you. Thank you for supporting this very strange, humble little endeavor that I've been on for the last 2 years now. I still don't quite know what I'm doing with it, but we're here. We're hanging out. I got a beer. My tree is up. Roman has already complimented my tree. Thank you, sir. So yeah, cheers to you. I'm going to try something out here. Keep it going with the festive theme like I just did with my intro there, and throw on some lo-fi Christmas beats. So feel free to let me know in the chat if you can hear it, if it's loud enough, if it sounds weird or echoey. But yeah, we're going to try to kick this thing off because it is officially Christmas time, folks. Thanksgiving's over. It's done. Really quick, though, before I do get started, I want to pull up who we have in the chat so far. So we have our friend to the north, Salmon Outdoors, who's asking whose birthday it is. It is my channel's 2nd anniversary. Thank you so much for being here. Always good to see you. We have my father, who is not really my father, but somehow keeps getting mistaken for being so, Roman of the Empire. Ahoy to you, sir. Also, thank you for being here. And we have, depending on where you follow him, Matt, the dad that shouldn't be, or the Unbearable 73, throwing out suggestions for what we could call this one-off stream. Twisted Tape Tuesdays. Tangled Tape Tuesdays. So here's the thing, though. Some of these are kind of generational references. There's a lot of folks out there now who probably don't understand the reference of a number 2 pencil in a cassette tape. So Tangled Tape, Twisted Tape, man, the struggle was real back in the day. Yeah, and you guys are all saying you're going to riot and whatnot. You know, sometimes technology is not my friend. Yeah, there's not much in there. You would also be wrong, sir. Complimenting the Christmas tree. Thank you. Hopefully you don't injure yourself putting yours up. I know there's been some stories in the past. All right, let's see. I think we're all caught up here. You insult me. No. No, in fact, it is a Let's Go IPA from a local brewery right here in town called Fall Brewing. Their logo is a demon cat that is basically just Felix the cat with a pitchfork tail and demon ears and some slip-on Vans. All right. Can anyone hear the music, the lo-fi beats in the background? I can hear it, but I hear weird stuff in my head all the time. So let's see, what kind of fun stories do we have? Oh, well, I could start with just talking about my long Thanksgiving weekend of going out to visit family, which is it's a mixed bag. I love to go visit my parents. Where I currently live, I'm born and raised. I've lived here my whole life, but my parents chose to move away almost 3 years ago. I think this next coming January will be 3 years since they left. So things have been different. Every time a holiday rolls around, Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, whatever, they come out here a lot because they're retired and they have the freedom and whatnot. But I also like to get the hell out of California when I can, even if it's only for a few days. But sort of last minute, after I had already booked my flight, my sister decided that she was going to come out too. And I love my family, all of my family, I really do. But she can be a lot to put up with and to handle, especially when she starts drinking. And it becomes a whole thing. Also, most notably, on Thanksgiving weekend, I'm the only person in my family who really doesn't give a flying flip about football or any other sports for that matter. And maybe because I don't really pay attention to sports, I don't know, but I always thought in the past the Thanksgiving Day football game was one game. So Thursday, I flew out on Thursday, arrived mid-afternoon, a little bit after 1 o'clock, and the entire day was just watching football. I mean, yes, we sat down and we had the turkey and we had the food and we had everything, but if we were on the couch, if we were watching TV, it was football. I'm the only person in my family that doesn't really care about football, but I'm also trying to be, the good family member, the good son, whatever, and trying to like sit and be present with my family and not be on my phone and whatever. I keep looking around the room. Literally everyone else in the room is all just doom scrolling on their phones and occasionally commenting on the football game. And I'm just kind of sitting there tearing my hair out thinking, well, what the hell are we watching the game for if no one's paying attention? But there was that. Then Friday and Saturday, there were apparently like college football games all day long that everyone was super into. And then once you get to Sunday, there's more football. So I think over the course of the last 5 days, I've seen enough football for a lifetime. And I was the only one who was actually really paying attention to the games, even though I didn't want to pay attention to the games. So there was that. But it was good. We did Thanksgiving. Friday, we put the tree up like the tradition always was to always put the tree up the day after Thanksgiving. Obviously, I put mine up early because I was out of town. But there was that. Didn't get any snow, but it was a little chipper, a little frosty. So, tried to stow away in John's luggage. The TSA didn't believe I was a cat. Yeah, I think my suitcase was a little too small for that. And I don't know if I would have been able to lift it up into the overhead compartment if you'd been in the suitcase, but you tried. I don't understand it either. So that's the funny thing to me too, is that the NFL keeps trying to take football overseas to Europe and wherever else. And it's like, don't you understand that people in like England and Ireland and Scotland and everything, they think the Americans are all a bunch of sissies because they wear pads and helmets, and I don't think it'll ever catch on. But again, it's not something that I really care about, so it's not really on my radar. But I digress. Let's get into some fun stories. I think I got a couple of short, kind of rapid fire ones, and then we'll get into the more detailed topic. This one kind of breaks format, so let's start with this one first, and then we'll get back into the music stuff. What did I just do? Nope, go back. Lord. Don't try to read articles on USA Today, man. Let me tell you. All right. Enhance so I can read it. Try a little more. Get the ads out of the way. There we go. All right. Hey, Zax, how you doing, buddy? Yes, now we have two of our favorite neighbors to the north in the chat, Zax and Salmon. Both always good to see both of you guys in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, Zax. So, like I said, I'm gonna slightly break format here just a bit. Let's try something different. There we go. That's better. Because I was a Disneyland annual pass holder for a good couple of years. Every once in a while, if something really wild happens, I definitely want to throw it out there. And Cajun Corey has just jumped into the chat. Good evening to you, sir. Yes, it is my channel's birthday. My actual birthday is in a couple weeks. I'll probably do something for that as well. What day of the week is my birthday? That is the question. My actual birthday is a Wednesday, so maybe I'll do like a preemptive birthday stream the Monday before. But anyways, today we are celebrating my channel's birthday or anniversary, whichever. But as I was saying, really tried to keep the format mostly music centered. I break the format every once in a while if there's something really wild at Disneyland, or if something new is coming out from director, filmmaker Christopher Nolan, which I failed to mention last week. His latest film, Oppenheimer, is now available for physical purchase, digital, download, all that, streaming, all that good stuff. I always recommend getting the physical, or at least whatever comes with the special features, because I love watching the special features of how he does his special effects and whatnot without CGI. You would think so. You would, step up, Roman. So I think it was over the holiday weekend. I don't know exactly when this happened, but a friend of mine sent me an Instagram reel yesterday while I was in the airport heading home about a streaker at Disneyland. I was an annual pass holder there for a couple of years and went quite a lot. I actually think it's kind of strange that the amount of times that I've been to Disneyland in my life and the amount of people that go there, I've never actually seen anything really super crazy, but some wild stuff happened. So over the weekend, they had a streaker literally at Disneyland. There is video. Is this the one that I can show? Because there's one where the dude actually gets like totally naked, and I definitely don't want to show that. But the initial Instagram reel that I first saw was just the guy kind of in his underwear, but he climbed out of the boat on It's a Small World. So let's just let's pause our lo-fi beats here real quick and see what this is all about. He got out of the boat on It's a Small World and started climbing all over like the sets here. He's like comes in and he like sits down. He's like pushing past the dolls, like very potentially breaking like the animatronics and stuff. You hear there's a cast member with a flashlight yelling at him, sit down, stop, you're gonna get hurt. Dude is fully on drugs. There's no doubt here. Right? Like I don't think this is some kind of social protest. I don't think this guy quite knows where he is.
Oh my god.
And the only thing I can think of why the cast members, employees are not approaching him is because they're probably afraid of damaging the animatronics and the set pieces even more. So it's just kind of like, what do you do? Like the guy's climbing around. They're trying to tell him to stop, sit down, whatever. He's not. But if other people come in, who knows what could happen and how much damage could be caused or possible injury. Or this is a wild scene. I'm actually kind of surprised. I've never actually seen something like this firsthand. All the times that I used to go over the years. So there's that. I don't know what's coming up after the fact. Let's go ahead and close that and get our lo-fi Christmas beats going again. And then, so after that, I was sent a tweet that had more video from said incident where freaking USA Today, I swear your website is not there's more video from later where he is outside of the ride. Oh, so now apparently I have to all right, fine, whatever, disable ad blocker. Just let me all right, we've seen what we need to see there. There's more video later, which obviously I'm not going to show you because, first of all, I don't want to put it out there on my channel. I don't want to subject the rest of you to it. But where when you're first getting on the boat and kind of entering the ride, he is running through the garden area on the front of It's a Small World and is at that point fully nude, fully naked, jumping into the water. Cast members are coming to get him. And when they finally drag him out of there, because here's the thing with Disney is like, you break the rules, you might get banned from the park. You might, this or that or the other could happen. I think once you get naked and expose yourself to any and everyone there, including children and everything, you probably go to real jail at that point. Like they probably bring in real police and actually take you to real Anaheim jail holding cell, not just Disney jail. They basically wrapped the guy up in a blanket and literally carried him out through Fantasyland. And I'm thinking, okay, I know people that have worked at Disneyland. I've read a lot of stuff about the parks. I've seen a lot of different documentaries, docuseries stuff. There's all sorts of different backstage areas for the cast members to move in and out, be able to change in and out of costume and not be out of character. That was the best route they could find, was to carry the guy through the park for other children and other people to see. There had to have been a backstage area that they're just okay, we're just going to get him out of here. We're just going to take him back. But I'll be very curious to see some follow-ups on this. And I mean, 100%, the guy had to be on drugs, first of all. I don't think this is one of those stupid freaking stop oil now protests. I think the guy really looked like he did not know where he was or what he was doing. But yeah, man, when those mushrooms be popping off at the wrong time while you're riding It's a Small World. Well, this is Disneyland here in California, so no alligators here. If it had been Florida, it would have been a very different story. Yeah, it would have been a very different story in Florida. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there are probably hundreds, potentially thousands of kids that saw this unfold, and it's not going to be good. Not going to be good for them. But I still think that the Disney employees and security and police could have done a better job of dragging him out of there behind the scenes and not just straight through the park. Yeah, even once they had him wrapped up in the blanket, the way they were carrying him, I wish I could find that video, but the first part of it, you see full frontal, full ass, full air, I'm not showing that on my channel, but then they show the part where they're carrying him out. They have him wrapped up in a blanket where it's people are I got this arm, I got this arm, I got this leg, I got this leg, and they're four people are carrying him, and then they're surrounded by security and police and everything. It was quite the scene. That would have been something to see, being there live and in person, let alone the amount of children that were probably around. Come on, computer, work with me here. Apparently, when you buy a cheap wireless keyboard on Amazon, they fail you in less than a year. There we go. It needs to be plugged in, so it's no longer wireless. That would be an idea. Actually, but 2 years ago, this same time of year, I went and spent a week out at Disney World and didn't see a single gator, not on any of the hotel properties, not in the parks. I was kind of disappointed because any body of water had a warning sign to stay away because of snakes and gators, but I don't know. So this one, oh boy, let's go ahead and pull this guy up. So apparently there is a sequel to the This Is Spinal Tap rockumentary in the works. Now let me just start this by saying I love the original Spinal Tap movie, but I think it also came out before Rob Reiner just decided to start focusing 100% of his efforts about just tweeting about Trump, which I'm not going to get super political here, but I just got to say, I love like people like Rob Reiner, people like Stephen King, and the ones that's like, on one hand, they keep talking about how, oh, I can't do Twitter anymore. I can't handle this since Elon Musk took it over and stuff. But then they stay on there and all they do is they gripe and they complain. And it's like, I don't love Trump, but I love how much he lives rent-free in people's heads. Like the people who it's just like their entire existence has just become about how much they can hate Trump and how much they can tweet angry things about him and stuff. And I'm like, good Lord, man. Like, I'm not the guy's biggest fan either, but like, I'm not losing sleep over anything. If anything, I'm probably losing sleep over the way things have been with the current administration. But that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to leave it alone for now. But Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Garth Brooks will appear in the upcoming Spinal Tap movie. But is Garth Brooks going to appear as Chris Gaines? That is the question. Director Rob Reiner has confirmed the long-awaited... Whoa. Careful with your words there, buddy. I don't know if I'd say this is long-awaited. I love the original movie, and it was fine. I don't think at any point in my entire life have I ever sat back and thought, you know what would be really cool is if they made another Spinal Tap movie. No, the first one was great. I'm good. Leave it alone. We'll begin filming in February. Let's continue. Film director Rob Reiner has revealed that Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Garth Brooks will be among the cast when the long-awaited sequel to the classic This Is Spinal Tap hits the big screen. Reiner made the comments on the latest episode of the RHLSTP with Richard Herring podcast and confirmed that filming will commence in February. Planned to coincide with the 40th anniversary of the original film, Spinal Tap 2, we're assuming that's the title, at least for now, will reunite David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean, Nigel Tufnell, Christopher Guest, and Derek Smalls, played by Harry Shearer, for the first time since the trio performed an acoustic set at the 2019 Tribeca Film Festival. Reiner, meanwhile, will reprise his original role as mockumentarian Marty DeBurgi. Now, how many times is he going to mention Trump in his role, though? That's my question. When it was announced that Spinal Tap would reunite for one final concert, Marty DeBurgi saw this as a chance to make things right with the band, who viewed This Is Spinal Tap as a hatchet job, Reiner said last year. So he left his position as visiting adjunct teacher's assistant at the Edwood School of Cinematic Arts in pursuit of film history. The sequel will tell the story of Spinal Tap's bitter reunion as they reconvene to play a contractual obligated show following the death of their long-suffering manager, Ian Faith, originally played by actor Tony Hendra, who passed away in March of 2021. Spinal Tap 2 will also deal with the fallout from the original movie, exploring the band's concern about the way they were depicted on their disastrous American tour. In the years since, Spinal Tap have described DeBurgi's film as a, quote, hatchet job. In other Spinal Tap news, bassist Derek Smalls has launched a deluxe version of his 2018 solo album, Smalls Change, Meditations Upon Aging. The new version of the album features two previously unreleased live tracks, Hell's to Pay and She Puts the Bitch in Obituary, both recorded at the Palace Theater in Los Angeles with the Hungarian Studio Orchestra. It's available to pre-order now, and a live video for Hell's to Pay is below. See, now I can't even tell if this is serious or if this is like a bit for the movie. I guess we will find out. Saying, quote, as a rock and roller, I never expected to make it past 27, said Smalls. Here I am with all 10 fingers and all 5 strings, still ready to rock. Maybe my colleagues are getting older too, so I'd say it's time to rock some more. In September, Smalls released his first new song since 2018, Must Crush Barbie. Good Lord, I don't even know what to make of this at this point. There's his Must Crush Barbie artwork. Oh, don't get me wrong. I do not have any hopes for this movie either, but while this is going to be a terrible movie, this kind of fits within the music format because they're a parody band to begin with. The original movie is hilarious, and this is going to be a giant turd. Guaranteed. Let's put it this way. I might watch it once it's free on a streaming service that I already subscribe to, and that's probably about as far as I'll go with it. Let's see, there's another article here. Probably doesn't really say much of anything different. Spinal Tap sequel starts filming February 2024. Long awaited. They keep using that word, long awaited. We're making a sequel. We're going to start shooting the end of February. Everybody is back. He's teased at Paul McCartney, Elton John, Garth Brooks, and a few other surprises, cameos, blah, blah, blah. Released in 1984, Spinal Tap made just $4.7 million at the box office, but quickly became a cult classic with its ridiculously quotable one-liners, despite much of its dialogue being improvised. And that's what makes movies great sometimes, but they probably will not improvise this time. They'll probably just go on all sorts of rants about why Trump is the worst person ever, and start gender swapping and race swapping characters, and who knows what else. Yep. Let's see. What else we got here? So we have the new trailer for the new docuseries, John Lennon Murder Without a Trial, has just dropped. And funny enough, this series, it's going to be on Apple TV Plus, which I do not have. So I'll have to maybe try to find a different way to watch this. But this series is going to debut, maybe it doesn't say it in this article, but it will debut on my birthday, Wednesday, December 6th. And I will admit, being someone who grew up listening to the Beatles, and I guess I could kind of say like being a lifelong fan, because it's like my mom loved the Beatles, and then I grew up hearing the Beatles in the house, and all that. I honestly never knew that John Lennon's murderer never went to trial. We'll get into it a little bit in this article, but that was news to me that I actually just learned, I think, within the last couple months. And I was reading stuff about that song they just put out, the Now and Then, that they were able to use technology to extract his vocals and finish and touch up and studio magic, blah, blah, blah. And I started kind of looking into some stuff. And finally I was like, well, obviously I knew he died in 1980. He was shot, he was murdered, but kind of what happened to that guy? So I looked him up and went, I never knew he actually never went to trial. I think he's still in prison, but it never actually went to trial, which kind of blew me away. So there's a docuseries coming out, John Lennon, Murder Without a Trial, that will, the trailer is out now. I'll pull that up and play it as we get through the article. Apple TV Plus docuseries narrated by Kiefer Sutherland, examining the aftermath of the Beatles legend's assassination. There have been a number of eye-opening Beatles documentaries throughout the years, from the Beatlemania doc 8 Days a Night, a tribute to the Fab Four's loyal secretary, good old Freda, Martin Scorsese's poignant George Harrison living in the material world, and last but certainly not least, Peter Jackson's recent 8-hour opus, Get Back, chronicling the recording of the group's final album, Let It Be, and subsequent demise, which is also kind of another interesting piece that Peter Jackson was given access to that footage, because many of you watching this probably already know this. Some of you maybe don't. There was a film released at the same time, around the same time as the album, called Let It Be. So they released the album, they released the film, and it only ever saw a theatrical release because obviously back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was no home media. You couldn't go buy a VHS tape, or you couldn't go buy, whatever. You had to see things in theaters. So Let It Be, the film, came out, and George Harrison hated it. I mean, during that time, George Harrison storms out of the studio and quits the band. They eventually convince him to come back and finish the album, but tensions are obviously really high. So they all, I guess, collectively decided just let it be. and not let that film see the light of day again. But so much so that George Harrison said that he never wanted the film to see the light of day again. So even when he passed away in the early 2000s, I believe it was in his will or something to where his estate, his wife and kids are under orders also to never let the Let It Be film ever see the light of day again, because he said that he felt at that time he felt very much just under the thumb of Paul and John, and you know, their egos arguing back and forth, and just it was a dark time. He wasn't happy. It wasn't good. So then Peter Jackson got access to the footage, which I thought was interesting, re-edited it into 4 2-hour episodes that were released on Disney Plus, chronicling the same thing, but he kind of edited it to be a little more in a positive light. You still saw that Yoko was like absolutely glued to John's side. Like, I think the guy couldn't even wipe his own ass by himself. George still was not happy. Ringo's just over there just hanging out. Hey, I'm just here to play the drums. It's a good time, you know. But during the filming of not the filming, but during the editing of that docu-series, where they took all of the film from the Let It Be film sessions and recording sessions and re-edited it into this docu-series, they utilized this new technology. And again, this is where people kind of got it mixed up, where the headlines were saying, oh, the Beatles are using AI to make new music. Well, I guess it was technically a form of AI, but really what it was they were able to go in and isolate an instrument, a voice, and mix it independently as if it had been recorded independently, the way many recording studios operate now. Then they use that technology to finish that song now and then, where they could isolate John's vocals, actually dress him up, get rid of the loud clanging piano that kept overpowering his voice. And so there you have it, Peter Jackson's Get Back, leading into them releasing their final song. Now we have another docu-series. Now we have what hopes to be the definitive documentary about the aftermath of Mark David Chapman's 1980 assassination of John Lennon outside the Dakota. There it is, premiering on my birthday, my actual birthday. Today is my channel's birthday. Ish. I'm a few days off, but it's close enough. I was out of town. Premiering on my birthday, December 6th, on Apple TV Plus, narrated by Kiefer Sutherland. The 3-part docuseries features new information gleaned from FOIA requests, as well as the first on-camera interviews with a number of people surrounding the tragedy, including Richard Peterson, a taxi driver / witness to the shooting, the Dakota concierge who desperately tried to save Lennon's life, and Dr. Naomi Goldstein, the first psychiatrist who assessed Chapman. Down here saying, quote, crucially and unusually, in a case of this magnitude, Lennon's murderer never stood trial. Consequently, a wealth of detailed argument and evidence relating to Mark David Chapman's mental state and culpability was never publicly heard. Co-director Rob Coldstream and producer Louis Lee Ray tell Rolling Stone. This series lays out for the first time the unseen evidence for the prosecution and the defense, using documents and first-hand testimony from those who were there. We've been careful to maintain an impartial approach throughout, simply laying out for the viewer the arguments that were never heard in court. Here's my question. Just one quick question. Maintain an impartial approach throughout. No one is denying the fact that this man murdered John Lennon. So what do they mean by impartial? I don't know where they're going with that. Maybe because of his mental state. I don't know. But like, no one is denying that he murdered John Lennon. I'm fairly confident this man is actually in jail, even though he never stood trial. I need to talk about, I'm going to get a little bit off track here, but we got some time to kill. The crucial and unusual case, magnitude, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to talk about another case where things were very unusual and the local law enforcement really slipped up. And don't get me wrong, I respect all the good, honest, hardworking folks in law enforcement. I'm not so blind to the fact to not realize that there are bad, dishonest, corrupt people in law enforcement as well, but I'm not trying to paint myself as one of those people that's like, oh, cops are bad. I'm not that person. But in another big, crucial, and unusual case, the death of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain. I say death because I am still not fully convinced that he killed himself. That's a whole other topic for another time. Go watch the documentary Soaked in Bleach. It's pretty wild. But where the Seattle police really slipped up in at least two major areas with that was, number one, they after they found the crime scene, found Kurt Cobain's lifeless body, shotgun, blah blah blah, whatever. They took the weapon, murder weapon, suicide weapon, whatever you want to call it. They took the shotgun and they gave it to Courtney Love. Shouldn't that go into evidence? Like, shouldn't that go through? Aren't there some processes that weapon should go through? No, they gave the shotgun to Courtney Love, which she promptly had melted down and destroyed. Not weird at all, right? Number two, in 1994, in Seattle, if it looked like a suicide, they ruled it a suicide, open and shut case, no investigation. So even though they did come in and take photographs of the whole scene, that film was never actually developed until maybe within the last 10 years or so. I don't think that maybe there would have been something important in there they could have found. And then thirdly, this is just something I think has been widely reported and known, whatever, but his quote unquote suicide note, they claim, was in two very distinctly different styles of handwriting. And I think they equated it to, oh, he shot up a bunch of heroin and he wrote his note. Like, okay, number 4, Kurt Cobain was injected with, I don't even know how many times above the lethal dose of heroin, to where the heroin alone in his body should have killed him, and yet his cigar box where he would put away his needle and rubber hose and everything was all very neatly put away, and then he still had the mental capacity and the wherewithal to pick up a shotgun and pull the trigger with his toe, even though they say that the heroin alone should have killed him way before he would have had any time to do any of that. Anyways, I digress. That's my quick rant about talking about crucial cases of high magnitude. Conspiracy theory surrounding Chapman and the murder of Lennon, which is probably why the so-called documentary is being made. Interesting. Okay. I always kind of figured this was a very open and shut case because it sounds like there are obviously witnesses. Obviously, Yoko was with him. There's this taxi driver that's going to talk, the people from the hotel that came out. Yeah, I said I don't have Apple TV Plus. I'm not an Apple guy. I'm very much an Android guy, but I might have to find a way to watch this because I am curious. Coldstream and Lee Ray added that they took particular pains, quote, not to sensationalize the story out of respect to Lennon's surviving family, including Yoko Ono, Sean, and Julian. Furthermore, we approached Lennon's tragic murder not just as an event in isolation, but in the context of 1980s America, explore the ripples the killing had across society more broadly. They say, what was striking is how many parallels sprung up between 1980 and the current day, from questions around mental health, the justice system, and gun control. Typical Rolling Stone. So let's go ahead and let me pause my lo-fi beats again. And I have not watched this yet, so we're gonna check this out here.
We will now begin our moment of silence to pay our respects to John Lennon.
Lennon was walking in, and this kid says, John Lennon.
John was laying straight out like that. No movement, nothing.
This guy just shot John Lennon.
The alleged killer is Mark David Chapman.
David Chapman.
Chapman is a photographer from Hawaii.
Why have you never spoken about it?
I just didn't want any trouble. But time's passed.
He actually apologized to us. He said, gee, I'm sorry I ruined your night. And I says, you got to be kidding me. You just ruined your whole life.
Was somebody working with him? Was it a conspiracy? His intention was to bring fame to himself.
Was religion a motive?
He said, my name's Mark David Chapman. You'll remember my name.
Nobody's ever given peace a complete chance. Gandhi tried it, Martin Luther King tried it, but they were shot.
Well, there you have it. Streaming December 6th. How many parts did it say it was going to be? Like 2 parts, 4 parts. But anyways, there's the trailer for it. Very interesting. And I noticed there's a quick clip in there. It looked like they were talking to Paul McCartney, and this is another one of those ones where I remember just the idea of print media versus actually being able to see a video of something. Obviously now in 2023, it's much easier to get video of anything and everything. Back then, it's like they had to actually have news cameras, they had to broadcast it, they whatever. But this is another one of those things where you can very, very easily take things out of context when you print it. Like Rolling Stone. I'm looking at you, Rolling Stone. You're right there at the bottom. The thing about gun control. Like, get out of here. But the news of John Lennon's death hits the world, and people see Paul McCartney out on the street, and they shove a microphone in his face and say, John Lennon's been murdered. Like, how do you feel about that? And Paul McCartney goes, oh, it's a drag, man. And they print that Paul McCartney says, oh, it's a drag. And if you just read the words, it sounds like he was like very dismissive and just kind of like, oh yeah, it's a drag, man. Oh, it's a bummer. Like, but he came back later and said, he's like, no, he's like, that's not what I said. That's not how I said it. They asked me. It's like, how do you feel about this? It's a drag. Like, it's just like, what else can you say? It's like, yeah, they'd been estranged. I've read a lot of different accounts that say Paul and John were like starting to kind of mend their friendship at that point in time. Like, they were talking on the phone. Maybe they weren't the best of friends. Maybe they weren't going out and having lunch every day or something, but they were starting to talk. They were starting to kind of mend the bond a little bit. And so for him to say that, and for the media to just print like, oh, Paul McCartney just says it's a drag, like it's no big deal. He's like, this is my friend. Like, they were like childhood friends. And even if they were not the best of friends at the time, that's someone that you've known since your childhood. Like, that is a major, major thing to hear that news. And just the way that print media just so flippantly is like, oh, well, you didn't really care, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's see, what do we got here? Actually, a good movie called Conspiracy Theory. I remember that movie. It has been a very long time since I've seen that. But yes, Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson, Patrick Stewart, Julia Roberts, which is loosely based on one of the Lennon conspiracy theories. How wild is that a movie that came out that long ago is kind of starting to become our everyday life? Let me see if I can find... this is actually kind of funny in that vein. Something I retweeted the other day from Gina Carano. Come on, computer, work with me. There we go. Scientists warn that Earth could run out of conspiracy theories by 2025 if they keep coming true at the current rate. Yeah, that's kind of seems to be where we're at, But yeah, I think that's about. Let's see if I have any other interesting quick topics to throw up here before I call it a night. Maybe kind of a short. I mean, I always try to keep these about an hour long. Anyways, we got about 10 minutes to kill if I got anything else that's interesting. See, we talked about Spinal Tap. We talked about the Disneyland guy. Oh, what about this? Let's pull this up. This is this. Let's go here. Speaking of, oh, don't freaking, jeez. All right, fine. I'll read it off of my phone because my computer doesn't. This website doesn't like my ad blocker. Let's get our lo-fi beats going again. That's better. All right. Apparently, blabbermouth.net doesn't like ad blockers. The documentary about Godsmack frontman Sully Erna's life is finally released. So I just saw them in concert back in August with Stained, and before Godsmack took the stage, this trailer kind of played for this documentary, and I kept looking for it, kept trying to see, like, well, you guys played this trailer, like, when is it going to be available? So I guess it's now available. It's on Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime Video. The 98-minute documentary, written and produced by Sully Erna, Godsmack frontman, with additional writing, production, and editing by Noah Berlow, and writing, production, and directing by Troy Smith. Earlier today, Tuesday, November 21st, I know I'm a couple days behind, I was out of town, Erna shared a poster for the film on his social media, and he wrote an accompanying message, quote, "I am excited to finally announce the release of my new feature documentary, I Stand Alone. Based on my memoir, The Paths We Choose, myself, along with director Troy Smith and lead editor Noah Berlow, have been working on this for almost 6 years now. So I won't babble along here. I just want to say thank you to my family, friends, and loved ones that have helped shape me to be the man I've become today, for always believing in me, my vision to become the best I can be, and for your love and support along the way. Thank you for being a part of my incredible journey. I wouldn't change a thing, even if I could. For the rest of you, I hope you all enjoy the film and it inspires you to always find that inner strength to push you forward when life seems to knock you down." Let's see if I can find the trailer to that one without some stupid website blocking me. Nope, that's that. I'm gonna open a new window, move it over to the other. Let's try this. Go over here. Trailer, anything? There we go. All right, let's once again pause the lo-fi beats. Let's go here, let's go here.
Most people spend their entire lives just trying to figure out who they want to be. Somehow, from a really young age, I just knew what I wanted to do with my life. But when you're raised in one of the most violent cities in America, like Lawrence, Mass,
The body of the man found here has yet to be 3 people killed overnight in Morris.
it's really easy to make one bad decision and either end up dead or in jail. You have to get tough real quick to survive this place.
There was a lot of areas that you just avoided, especially where we lived.
I had next door neighbors that were rapists. I watched people get beat almost to death just for wearing the wrong colors because you weren't in their gang. As years and years developed, I got really good at being bad. I was starting to really live that lifestyle and the partying, the drinking. I just remember I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I pulled the shotgun up to this kid's face.
I started to turn my head. I hear,
And as he got close to me, I pulled the trigger. I had every challenge in the world. Thankfully, I had music in my life. And I remember thinking, everything else is going to be a hobby, and music is what I'm going to do for a living.
the music business, there's very few people that make it to a big time.
My mind was becoming my worst enemy. Through the pain I was experiencing, something really beautiful was happening.
Sully called me.
He's putting this band together and he wanted to sing.
He's sounding like a wild goat in heat. And I went, oh my God, you're awful.
You could feel something happening.
Well, who's number one? Yeah, Godsmack. So, well, who's Godsmack?
Sully is driven. That's what he always was and still is.
We're lucky we didn't end up dead or in jail. And music, it was the savior for us.
As tough as it was, I wouldn't change my past for anything.
All right, and so there we have that, the Sully Erna story of Godsmack, which I believe, as I was trying to read on the article before and the ad blocker kicked me out, is currently available on Apple TV Plus as well as Amazon Prime Video. So with that, I believe I've more or less gone through everything I plan to accomplish today. I guess I probably should have gotten either some, I don't know, firecrackers or some party hats, streamers or whatever, something to celebrate the anniversary of the channel. But still, I just got off a plane yesterday after being gone for 5 days. So I just wanted to quickly just sit down and kind of do a little bit of a, as what my live streams have typically become now, just kind of a loose, free format, whatever news articles and stories I pull up on my phone while I'm at work throughout the day. Sometimes I save a few from previous days over by the time I read them, they're a little bit outdated, but here we are. I am going to go ahead and sign off at this point, but I want to very quickly go through the chat and say thank you to everyone who tuned in while this was live. We got my brother Salmon Outdoors, Roman of the Empire, Matt the Unbearable 73, Zach's, Cajun Corey, all of you, thank you so much for being here, whether you tuned in for a few minutes or stuck around the whole time. I am forever grateful to all of you and any of you who support this channel. We're still floating around 351 subs, still figuring out what I'm doing, still figuring out what, just, I don't know, maybe it's just a hobby, maybe this will go somewhere someday, but milestones are milestones and they should be recognized. So I want to say again, cheers to all of you for supporting the channel, for being here in the chat tonight, for being here for at any point, whether you've watched a video, liked the video, been in a live stream. Thank you all so much. I am John, the creative blue collar guy. I am going to sign off for the night. But again, thank you for the support these last 2 years, whether you are new or old, however long you've been here. I appreciate each and every single one of you and all of the support. And I will see you next Monday for an actual Mixtape Mondays.
Merry Christmas!